Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is Dr. Shizayas from Department of Botany, Division of Science and Technology, University of Education, Township, Lahore. And the topic for today's talk is the various effects that are the harmful effect and various control measures that we should be followed in order to control the noise pollution. So, what are the different harmful effects onto the environment, onto our property, industry, and most important is the harmful effect on the of the noise pollution on the human beings. So, the first effect, as we already know, the noise pollution is also known as environmental noise or the sound pollution, which is the propagation of the noise with ranging impacts on the activity of human or animal life. Most of them are harmful to a degree. And there are various sources of creating the noise pollution in the environment that I have already explained in my previous lecture. So let's start with the effect of the noise pollution, like as well as are the damaging effects that are causing damage to our hearing by causing deafness. Constant loud noise can damage the human health in many ways, particularly in the very young and the very old persons. So here are some of the main ones, like physical effects may include directly effect on the humans like respiratory agitation, racing pulse, high blood pressure, headache, and in case of extremely loudness, there is a constant noise, gastritis, colitis, and even the heart attacks diseases that can be shown to a number of the human beings. So these are, we can say that these are all the physical effects of the on the human beings. Noise has always been with the human civilization, but it was never so obvious, so intense, so varied, and so pervasive as it is seen in the last of this century. So the noise pollution make men more irritable. The effect of noise pollution is multifaceted and interrelated, and the effect of the noise pollution on the human beings, like it decreases the efficiency of man regarding the hear impairment, interference with the spoken communication. There is decrease in efficiency of to do any tasks on the proper time. That is the lack of concentration, like lack of concentration, like for better quality of work there should be concentration. Noise causes lack of concentration. In big cities, like mostly all the offices are present on the main road or they are situated on the main road, so the noises of different vehicles like traffic or the loudspeaker of the different type of the horns divert the attention of the people working in the offices. So it can also lead to the condition of creating fatigue. So because of the noise pollution, people cannot concentrate on their work. Thus, they have to give their more time for completing the work and they feel tiring. Other than sleep, there is a fatigue, there is a sleep disturbance, cardiovascular related to the heart problems, as many other may lead to disturbance in the mental health by impairing task performance. There is also negative social behavior and annoyance reaction, abortion, like there should be cool and calm atmosphere during the pregnancy. So the unpleasant sound make a lady of irritative nature. Sudden noise causes abortion in the females. Having a risk of high blood pressure, noise pollution causes certain diseases in the human by attacking on the person's peace of mind. So the noises are recognized as the major contributing factor in accelerating the already existing tensions of the modern living. So these tensions result in certain diseases like blood pressure or the mental illness or disturbance in the mental health also. Abnormal fetus, temporary or permanent deafness. like the effect of noise on audition is well recognized. So the mechanics, locomotive drivers, telephone operators, etc., all of these have their hearing impairment as a result of noise at the place of work. So the physicists, physicians, and the psychologists are of the view that continued exposure to the noise level above 80 to 100 decibels is considered to be unsafe. So the loud noise causes temporary or permanent deafness also. Another effect which we can categorize like it's a psychological effect. Like the noises can cause attack of stress, fatigue, depression, and anxiety and hysteria in both of the male and the female. So this is hysteria is the condition of uncontrolled emotions or excitement is called as hysteria. This may lead to the sleep and behavioral disorders like um, noise above 45 decibels stops you from falling asleep or sleeping properly. So remember that according to the World Health Organization, it should be no more than 30 decibels. So loud noises can have the latent effects on our behavior, causing aggressive behavior and irritability. Memory and concentration. Like noise may affect the people's ability to focus, which can lead to low performance over time. So it is also bad for the memory, making it hard to study. Interestingly, our ears need more than 16 hours rest to make up for the 2 hours of exposure to listen a sound or the noise level in the range of 100 decibels units. So there are various other effects or the diseases which are related to the human beings like high blood pressure, heart attack, cancer, asthma, coughing, wheezing, deafness, annoyance, stress, and anxiety, reduce the lung development, bronchitis, insomnia, and the arterial sclerosis related to the heart diseases. So if we look at this triangular diagram, it's a pyramid that is studied from a number of people which are affected by the negative impacts of the noise pollution. And the starting stage or the level 1 is for the disturbance, annoyance, and the sleep disturbance. That is a feeling of you feel some type of discomfortation in your mind, in your body, in your health. That may lead to the stress indicators including the autonomous response of the stress hormones by the introduction of various hormones which can cause this certain type of stress, and these two combine together ultimately to form the risk factors. That is the starting point for the various diseases like blood clotting, cholesterol level may become high, blood pressure, glucose level. Ultimately, they may become a major disease of like cardiovascular diseases of heart and insomnia. And if these conditions will be prolonged, the human beings ultimately going to be died. That is, the mortality rate will be high at the top of. Ultimately, the solution is only to avoid all of these problems is to um, hear or a noise within the audible range that has been set up by World Health Organization. There are various effects on the animals like the noise pollution damages to the nervous system of the animals. Animal loses the control of its mind. They become dangerous and attacking. There is metabolism and there is a reduction of usable habitat, death of certain species by various modification or the changes in the genetic and evolutionary histories and the problems creating. Also hormone becomes imbalanced, chronic stress, panic escaping behavior especially, and of their offspring's injury, loudness of various interspecific communications. There are various effects on the wildlife as well as the human beings continue their encroachment upon the remaining remaining vestige of the untouched wilderness, so the wildlife population around the globe continue to diminish in their size. So the impact of human encroachment and the environmental pollution are evident wherever research biologists perform their studies, including loss of habitat and territory, loss of food supply, behavioral changes in their mating predation and migration, and the changes in the interspecific relationships that alter the predator-prey balance, as well as increase their competition for food and shelter. So the human-induced noise pollution is one of the many factors contributing to the depletion of the wildlife, that is the depletion of all this wildlife population. So there are various laboratory studies and limited field research that have uncovered four major ways in which the animals are adversely affected by the noise pollution, like hearing loss resulting from the noise level of 85 decibels or greater, masking, which is the inability to hear the important environmental clues and the animal signals, non-auditory physiological effects such as increased heart rate and respiration and general stress reduction, and last but not the least is the behavioral effects, that is very important, and these may vary greatly between the species and the noise characteristics, resulting in various toxic effects of these. So there are various effects of the noise pollution, like the recent studies suggested that noise pollution can also harm the whales directly by damaging their hearing, and in extreme cases it causes the internal bleeding and even the death. So more commonly it appears that excessive or prolonged noise can cause behavioral changes that interfere with the health and the survival of the animals as well. Effect on the environment, like in the plants, due to the high level of sound, their reproduction and the growth mechanism is disturbed. Poor quality of the crops will be produced that damages the buildings, bridges, monuments, and weaken the edificity of the building. Also, like effect on their property, loud noise is very dangerous to the buildings, bridges, and the monuments. So it creates the waves which struck the walls and put the building in danger condition. So it weakens the edifice of the building as well. So what should be the control measure in order to control these types of noise pollution? Like the government can also take measures to ensure the correct road noise management and reduce the noise pollution. For example, they should be protecting certain areas, parts of countryside areas of the natural interest like city parks from the noise, establishing regulations that include prevention and corrective measures. So that should be mandatory separation between the residential zones and sources of noises like airport, fines for exceeding the noise limits. So like other pollution, noise pollution need to be controlled by selective measure steps which will maintain the acceptable level of the noise pollution for human being as well as for the buildings as indicated. They can be noise pollution can be effectively controlled by taking the following measures. So starting from like control at the receiver's end. For people working in the noisy installation, ear protection aids like earplugs, earmuffs, noise helmets, and the headphones, they must be provided to reduce the occupational exposures. Next is the suppression of the noise at the source. Like this is only possible if working methods are improved by the following steps, like the designing, fabricating, and using the quitter machines to replace any noisy ones. There should be a proper lubrication and the better maintenance of the machines. installing the noisy machines in soundproof chambers, covering the noisy producing machine parts with sound absorbing material to check the noise production, reducing the noise produced from vibrating machines by vibration damping, that is making a layer of damping material that is made up of rubber, neoprene, cork, plastic beneath the machine. Using these silencers to control the noise from the automobile, ducts, exhaust, and conveyor system which ends opening into the atmosphere, and using the glass wools or the mineral wools that should be covered with a sheet of perforated metal for the purpose of mechanical protection. Acoustic zoning. There should be an increased distance between the source and receiver by zoning off noisy industrial areas. But bus terminals and railway stations, aerodromes away from the residential area would go a long way in minimizing the noise pollution. So there should be silence zones near the residential areas, educational institutions, and above all, more specifically focus is on near the hospitals. Then sound insulation at the construction stages, like sound travel through the cracks that get left between the doors and the walls. For reducing the noise, this space, that is the jam frame gap, should be packed with the sound absorbing material. Sound insulations can be done by constructing the windows with double or triple panes of the glass and filling the gaps with the sound absorbing materials. So, acoustical tiles, hair filled, and the perforated plywood, etc. They can be fixed on the walls, ceilings, and the floors to reduce the noise, especially for the soundproof recording rooms, etc. Last is very important, that planting of the trees, like planting the green trees and the shrubs along the roads, hospitals, educational institutions, etc. They help in noise reduction to a considerable content. So we should plant more and more trees, flowers, ornamental plant in order to avoid any type of the pollution, not particularly the noise, but all type of pollution would be controlled by tree plantations. There are some legislative measures, like the strict legislative measures need to be enforced to curb the menace of the noise pollution. Some of these measures could be minimum use of loudspeakers and amplifiers, especially near the silence zone, then banning pressure horns in the automobiles, framing a separate noise pollution act, and there are should be more control techniques in order to control the noise, like the urban planning. Like cities have many sources of the noise, so many of the most significant and preventive sources arise from the traffic and industry. So the motor vehicle traffic is usually the single greatest contributor of the noise in most of the cities, and most important is the public education and awareness. So people should get to know about this public awareness. We should spread this awareness like any other type of the pollution, that we tell them by means of short documentaries, by means of short animated movies. If you are educating these young children, then you should give them the projects and tell them the importance of cleanliness of the environment to avoid any type of these pollutions. So to end up this topic of noise pollution, I will end up in a quotation, that is, work hard in silence, let success make the noise. If we follow on this um, quotation, if we follow, then overall society will be able to will be able to succeed in their task. And we all, this is not only a one person task, but the whole environment, the whole society, or every kind of the people, if he or she may contribute a little one, then we can get to avoid any type of pollution in our atmosphere. So this was all about the noise pollution. Here is the list of all the possible references which are browsed up during the preparation of this lecture. Thank you very much.